All right, so we're talking about the initial retro feedback on the first responder pilot program, of which many on here are users of or helped create and are working on, et cetera. So good stuff. So I've got the issue in the meeting notes. I'll also put it in the chat in Zoom in case folks don't have it handy. So my impression is overall it's actually gone pretty well, with some notable exceptions. So the parts that have gone well, in kicking us up, is that it's primarily working as designed, where people in the Slack room or Slack channel are getting the escalations before people have to go to the spreadsheet, and that's providing a better work-life balance for at least during the weekdays, for all the engineers doing support during the week. We still, of course, have the spreadsheet for the weekends because generally nobody's online in that Slack channel on the weekend, so we still have that for the weekend. So overall, that's going well. However, a couple escalations, one in particular, but more than one, took a really long time to find somebody to respond during the week. And it looks like the cause primarily is that not all engineers doing support have been asked to, nor done proper Slack configuration, so the bot knows if they're available and online. And also we seem to be, the bot, let's say person number one misses the escalation, right? And then a day later, another escalation comes. I believe the bot will pick that same person again as the first person to do, because it is the least recently escalated to. And if that person still doesn't have Slack configured correctly, which we haven't even told them between day one and day two, then it'll pick them, and then it'll go to the next person. And if we have a list of people who don't have Slack configured correctly or don't know how the program works, and they're not responding to escalations, every subsequent escalation is going to take a really long time to escalate, because it's going to the people that are not fully in the program properly yet. So there's all sorts of ways to solve that that we've thrown around. So anyway, that's my impressions. What are other folks' impressions so far?
So your observation is, one conclusion is that the folks didn't set up their Slack correctly. Is that the one thing you observed?
I think that's the first part of it, that Slack is not configured, because we actually haven't asked them to, right? So we haven't, or if we have, we haven't given great recommendations to them, and we're working on updating the handbook for that and reaching out to folks. So one is people don't have Slack configured correctly, and when they're online, when they're working, et cetera. The other is, I still think if, let's say everybody has it configured properly, which is not the case currently. Let's say the person who has it configured properly is choosing to not participate in the program, right? Where they're not responding. The bot's always going to choose them first. Once it chooses them one time, the first time it chooses them, so let's say, I'll say I'm the person not participating. So the bot chooses me, I'm the least recently escalated to, I ignore it. I'm planning to ignore it, I ignore it every time. The bot's always going to choose me first for every escalation. And even if I have Slack configured correctly. So I think that's a challenge as well. Many different ways to handle that, to address that, but
yeah,
one could be,
yeah, I mean, to me, like that's definitely something that we can program in, right? That and I guess, like, is this a voluntary thing? To me, this is supposed to be replacing the current on-call schedule during the week. So
it's a good
to
point.
me, like,
it's not voluntary. It's
yeah. So and like with both the things that you brought up, to me, I think that what we've realized is that there were a few prerequisites that maybe weren't communicated, and just learnings for maybe this next iteration that would have helped get towards a better success rate. I think the success rate's been pretty good, but given that we didn't really have total compliance with people updating their Slack notification, that definitely impacted how successful this could be initially. But I mean, with some of this, it's hard because we need to try it in order to shake the bugs out. Now we're shaking the bugs out, and so I wonder if we don't need to set back the pilot like another month, because now we kind of understand the prerequisites and we're really understanding the bugs. That proposal.
I'm not in favor of definitely get where you're coming. I'm not in favor of actually taking a step backwards, although we surely can, and like ending the pilot and going back to the spreadsheet while we fix things. I think we could go through and ask the managers of all back-end engineers to first update the handbook on what we're recommending, how we're recommending they updates their Slack config, and then ask each engineering manager to confirm their back-end engineers have done so. Because I think the escalations have only been later than what we wanted, maybe 2 out of 10 or something like that, which is going to be better if it was 0. But the other, the majority, it's worked just fine.
I think we are jumping into the solutions here, but I think we need to be clear about several things. First is, of course, the tooling thing. I mean, everybody should set up their configuration right. The second thing is on-call is not optional. It's mandatory for all engineers. Let's be clear. Then I think the solution will be here. The 2 problems. One is Slack settings, and the other one is if say I'm on call, I never responded, then I will be always on top of the list. I don't think we want to optimize this algorithm, but instead.
And Sean, I mean, an example for you is just use an example. So let's say you have a tendency to miss your Slack notifications, right? You've set up Slack correctly, but you miss it.
Yeah,
it happens, right? Yeah. It happens to all of us. And let's say you have a tendency to miss it. And let's say you get escalated 3 different support issues in 3 days, you're going to be first on the list. Even though you've configured Slack correctly. That's what I think perhaps we should not pick the least recently escalated to person, but maybe take the let's say a number, let's say 5 of the least recently escalated to people, and randomly choose someone to add a little jitter into the system so that it's not always choosing that one person. Now, one person will still get escalated to again, but it won't be that person every time, potentially delaying the support teams getting a quick escalation. There are better solutions than a random thing, but perhaps that's just one way to potentially do it.
Yeah, I think we need to think about this a bit more. The issue with the random thing is that you will end up with the top 5 being those who do not respond. And also, we don't know if this is really a problem. Like right now, most likely they don't have that configured, and that's the feedback we've got from most of the people were that, oh yeah, my Slack notifications weren't configured, or they forgot to add the DND setting. I think when we do this, and this was one of the reasons that I made a bot, we need to be fair. So we still want the people who were less pinged to be there, to be first, basically. So if there's a particular problem with someone who continuously ignores that, then I think we may want to address that, and it could be automated, as I mentioned. Maybe pages like could send a private message or something. And another thing, now that I'm talking,
James, can the bot look at somebody's Slack config, and is it able to pull the configuration to see if it's configured according to the best practices that we want? At least some of them, or if not all of them.
Yeah, there's a way to say whether they have disabled or not enable any DND setting. And then we could even check the actual settings, and we could say, hey, I think the default is 12 hours working time or something like that. We can check maybe if they have the default as well. So there's a way for the bot to check that.
So here's my opinion. We shouldn't do that. We should ask all the managers to work with team members to ensure they set their Slack correctly. And for those people, tend to miss all the calls, then we can detect that data and ping the person and their manager to work together to get it resolved. So we need to be fair for all the people. And be honest, one of the goals to set up the on-call is to spread out the workload to more people. in engineering department or in development department, department, yeah, because it used to be just a few people responding to all the escalations. After this uncle, more people got involved. So that's one problem we want to solve. If we shrink back to a volunteering based, it will shrink back to a small subset of the developers again. So then uncle is, well, we don't solve the problem we wanted to solve.
So perhaps we give the engineers good recommendations on how to configure Slack. We haven't done that yet, right? So we need to do that first. So some already had it set, which is great, but we haven't done that. Ask them to do, an engineering week in review, and and maybe a couple Slack channel or two, and then we also ask engineering managers to confirm it. So the engineers don't feel like it's oh, you didn't do something right. Well, we haven't even asked them to do it in the first place. So we ask them, give it a week, then ask the engineering managers with back-end engineers to go confirm that they've verified it. And just those things may, so not changing the bot at all, just doing those kind of procedural things might help a lot. But Amy and Michelle, oh, go ahead, Nicholas.
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, I'm pretty sure that we did ask, but it's a type of thing where it takes a while for some of the stuff to sink in as well. I think that getting engineering managers to confirm that people have done it, that's the step that we missed, right? And that makes sense to me.
We also fixed a couple of things that were related to this, like pinging the original ones, the original people again, like for the first and second ping. So in the second ping, the first ping person will appear there again, while before they may come just a bit later, like 2 minutes later, and then they won't see that, and they wouldn't know what was happening. So now they should see their names all of the time, basically. So that may help as well with this.
Agreed. Amy and Michelle, what do you both think?
Well, I mean, I think, yeah, it all sounds really sensible. Like, I think definitely feel like it should be fair and people should get the chance to be sort of told to set things up correctly. One thing that has been kind of useful from my side is knowing we have the spreadsheet to fall back on. So as we move out of the pilot, like, it would be great if we also had a way, like, if in the event, we do ping 6 people and there's no response, like, what's our next step? Like, who do we escalate to, or is there another means we get hold of somebody?
Yeah, so I think for that, I mean, this bot is really a prototype and it can be configured. Right now we have 6 people because we give enough time for the escalation. Like, maybe that takes like 12 minutes, and then we still got a few minutes for finding the right people after that. So we may want to increase that after this pilot to maybe more people. And the other thing is, so there's more things that we can do there. For instance, after pinging, say, 10 people, then you can add here, for instance. Nobody replied, and then after 10 people, so let's just add here, and that will ping all of the online engineers that are in the channel. It may ping other people as well, but that may not do any harm if we reach that state.
Can we actually implement that at here to replace the 6th ping now and see how that works? I concur with Amy's concern. I'm worried if we turn to production and we drop the spreadsheet sign up, then we don't have a way to ensure there is a response as a fallback.
Yeah, and we said already we're going to keep the spreadsheet through September and October. November's a big holiday month as well. As we work out the kinks with this, I think we keep the spreadsheet during the weekdays in addition to the weekends, probably through November and probably through December too, since obviously it's a big holiday month as well. And only if we really see and then we reassess getting rid of the spreadsheet during the week, perhaps in January.
So basically, we extended the pilot program towards the end of the year, then see how that works until we are confident that we can drop the spreadsheet.
Yeah, while we continue to iteratively improve things. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not wed to this idea.
Why can't we just? I'm sorry. like, why can't we just get a list of people's working hours? There's standard working hours. You know, for example, you're going to have a set of people in Europe and America and APAC. And then, because to me, like you should be able to fall back to a sheet of the people that you would kind of know would be online, or like that typically work during that period.
Nicholas, that's my personal opinion. We can't rely on that. Our current algorithm actually checks their working hours. We ping those people, right? But we still have missed the cases.
It's supposed to. It's supposed to, but we haven't had the prerequisites. I feel like we're kind of judging this from the standpoint of like, but we didn't have the prerequisites in place, right? So now we've had some incidents where we haven't had responses, but we actually didn't have the prerequisites in place. So I don't feel like we can make a real clear like judgment of it at this point.
You said we don't have prerequisites. Actually, in the process documentation of this pilot, we do describe how to set the Slack settings, right? That's
right, but not everyone has done that. So the actual mechanism of how this works, yeah. So the actual mechanism is not working properly, right? Because it's supposed to find, because a lot of people don't set their working hours, or they set it to the wrong time, like all the time. So it's like, why am I getting pinged like in the middle of my night?
Yeah,
right?
So that's exactly this MR is doing. Ask people to set their, more clear instruction how to set Slack. And then I think we are going to extend our pilot program, and basically it's a reset. We discover the issues, we make enhancements. Let's continue the pilot till the end of the year. And then I suggest the previous suggestion. All the managers work with their team members, ensure that their Slack is set correctly.
So one thing that I do want to ask, in terms of setting up your Slack right, do we need a solution for being away? Because one of the things that has been vocalized to me, which I feel like makes a lot of sense, the spreadsheet today, if you're on call and you're on that spreadsheet, I don't want to say on edge, that's not the right term, but you're aware. You're hyper aware that at any time you could get an incident. With the first responder program, I can get up and use the bathroom, and maybe I get pinged right when I do that. And so that's something that has come up to me. Is it too early to talk about that, or do we need a solution do we really expect them to set themselves as away every time?
I think that would be ideal, because so Slack has two modes, well, three, with the online, offline. But if you're not offline, you can also be away. If you're away, then the bot won't ping you. And if you set yourself D&D, which Slack has some default settings like away for half an hour or something like that, then the bot won't ping you either. So ideally, if the engineer goes, just grab a cup of water, or they go for lunch for an hour, then ideally they should also update the D&D setting, so Slack won't ping them. That's how it is. That's how it works right now.
Okay, so from what I'm hearing, when we're talking about here's how to set your working hours correctly and all of those things, we're also going to be explicit that if you get up for a second, it's okay to forget sometimes, because I believe that will absolutely happen. But that's what we recommend.
Yeah, I think that would be ideal. If we can recommend that as well, that'd be perfect. Because it happened the other day as well. I think someone went for a glass of water and then missed the notification. They did reply afterwards anyway, because it was just a couple of minutes, so it's fine.
So the Slack status is really the way to detect if the person is available. Yeah.
Yeah, and then if there is someone who doesn't set their Slack status or does, but has a tendency to miss the escalations, we deal with that on a case-by-case basis. That should be the exception rather than the rule. And you know, we catch that as we go along.
Yeah, the other thing is, I think it was mentioned, I don't know if there's an issue for this, to ping the top 5 or top 10 engineers at the beginning of the week. So so they're aware that they may get pinged very soon. Because to be honest, I think there's this command top that shows you the top 25 people that may get pinged next. So we can ping those, or we can send a reminder of something. So they're aware that the next week they may get pinged as well. There's definitely more probabilities, while the others can probably forget because they won't get pinged. I mean, anyone after 25th position probably won't get pinged at all.
I think while we are enhancing the tool, I think this is a fundamental question here. Initially, when we did the poll survey, indeed, some people prefer the predictability or deterministic of their schedule. So some people liked this idea of this pilot program. Some people preferred the predictability. So probably after running this for a month, we should do that survey again, because more people are involved now, so they have a better idea what this means to them. So I suggest we do a survey again to see where the preference is. If majority of the people prefers the predictability, we may think about it differently. I mean, think about the pilot, whether the tooling works well or not. It's still something. This is a fundamental question. It's not about the process itself.
One thing I noticed is that not many people are using the private commands such as top or position to check where they are at the list. I saw very few people using it. So maybe we should also make sure that they know about these commands that they can use to check when they're going to be next, sort of on the mega ping, basically next.
Any other topics to go? Oh, Amy?
I was just going to say, like, I just want to say thank you, all of you, for this. The interaction with the process is so much easier, having a bot and people being pinged rather than having to, like, you know, go off and find a spreadsheet and hope that one person's around. So yeah, like, even in kind of the early stages, like, yeah, definitely thank you so much. It's been hugely easy and enjoyable to use it. And on the whole, like, when people are available and respond to the notifications, like, brilliant. Like, people pile in and collaborate well and kind of get things resolved really quickly. So yeah, really enjoying this new process.
Great to hear. Thanks, Amy. All right. Awesome discussion. Anything else we want to discuss before we break?
Did we summarize this anywhere? So I think
I've been typing notes in the issue. So I tagged all of us here. So please review, edit my notes and add things to it and correct it, etc. I'll also post the recording as well. So
cool. So what are the next steps that we're taking? Continue to improve the bot.
So actually, let me hit the save here so you can see it in the comment. Okay. Cool. But a quick summary, after the handbook updates are merged for recommended Slack configuration, remind all back engineers to do this configuration. About a week later, create an issue to ask all EMs with backend engineers to confirm that their team has set the Slack configuration. Extend the pilot through January. Enhance the bot to ping the top 5 engineers in the queue for future escalations at the beginning of the week to tell them they might get an escalation that week. And do another survey to get feedback from engineers in the pilot program. That's what I've got.
Sounds good.
Thanks, everybody. Great stuff.